It's championship week, NFC version this time around. Our first preview of an NFC title game. Welcome to the illusion of complexity. Zach, stop making that stupid face. Hit it.
This team loves to win ugly. Winning ugly gets you to this point.
Takes the snap on third down. Rodgers waits, throws, right side, got a man wide open. Touchdown, and it's Robert Tonyan again. Aaron Rodgers with his fourth touchdown of the game.
It's going to be a good week for the Green Bay Packers. Getting a chance to move on.
One more to go. We'll talk to you next week.
One more to go, indeed. The Green Bay Packers are in the NFC Championship game. It is at Lambeau Field. It is against Thomas Edward Brady Jr., my mother's favorite quarterback, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Welcome to the show, everybody. For those of you that are unaware of that joke, I will help you. My mom has a different middle name for Brady than Edward, and let's just say it starts with F, and I'll let you guys kind of figure it out from there. Welcome to the show, guys. This is the Illusion of Complexity. I'm Jacob Westendorf. You can follow me on Twitter at Jacob Westendorf, and I'm live in the Game On Wisconsin studios here with one of my favorite people, Anna Zachary. And I'll start with him. Zach Jacobson is here with me on the show. And Zach, I got to tell you, the clip from last week's show where you just sound so disappointed in me during the In-N-Out Burger segment has given me life. I cannot stop listening to it. I showed it to like 3 people at work, and they all thought it was hilarious too, which means either I work with a bunch of freakos or they're just being nice, one of the two. But welcome. How are you feeling?
Well, Jake, I'm glad people are finally seeing your true colors. But that was the perfect, that one single clip was the perfect embodiment of how I feel about you. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding, Jacob. I love you, Erin. I love you. And for the record, I wasn't making a face. That's just how I look. I can't help that. I came out of the womb looking like that. But I'm good. I'm getting ready for a championship game here in California. It's windy here, so it's really, really, really windy. I have no idea why, but out of nowhere, it's windy.
You keep that wind the hell out of Wisconsin, please and thank you, because if there is a kryptonite for this Packers offense, I guess it appears to be the wind. Kryptonite for this show, there isn't one, but if we have a Wonder Woman, it is Erin Alice. Erin, welcome to the show. How are you feeling?
Good. Kind of getting over the hump of a near sinus infection, but feeling a lot better. Why did you give me that look?
I don't know. I thought I was going to use the phrasing.
No, that's an actual euphemism. So
there are plenty of euphemisms, but whatever. Go on.
Anyways, yeah, I'm doing good. There's nothing going on, nothing to report. How are you?
I'm good. It's championship week. I was talking to my wife last night, and as I learned last night, sources say that Jason Perrone will be flying into Green Bay from Arizona. And I told my wife that, and she was kind of like, why? And you guys got to remember, my wife, this is like her 4th football season where she's understood anything about what's going on. But I started explaining to her that this game's at Lambeau and how special that is, and just what that meant in 1996, and how rare these opportunities are, and just what that atmosphere could be like if they do in fact win and get a chance to go to the Super Bowl, and just how he wanted to be around it. And I'm thrilled that I get to be around it, and how everything like that is going to go. And I'm excited. It's a big opportunity for this team. The way that I feel about this game going into it, I walked out of work Monday, and my last conversation before I left work was I was talking to a guy about the Rams game a little bit and how the AFC game would go and the NFC game. And he's like, you guys got a tough one. I said, yeah, it's Tom Brady, but that'll just make it so much sweeter if we win. And then I just kind of smiled, and I talk to myself sometimes, and it's kind of weird and makes people look at me funny sometimes, but that's okay. But I said, this has got to be the year, doesn't it? And it just feels like that's the case, that this is the team and this is the year. And I'm not talking myself into a team of destiny kind of feeling. Erin, we've talked a little bit about some of this stuff before. How do you feel about this team after shellacking the Los Angeles Rams in a game where that wasn't even an A game, honestly, I think, from the Packers? I think their offense handed in a pretty solid B to B plus kind of performance.
I agree. Like it didn't feel like just in like their best game, which it's just so exciting, which I have kind of said all year. And I feel like that's kind of my key to the game this weekend is they need to not shoot themselves in the foot. I feel like that is usually when they struggle is it's their own issues. It's not necessarily anything that the other team is doing. I mean, sure, there's factors, but it feels like there's, like the fumble at the end of the Colts game and things like that, where it's like they could have, just mistakes that are happening. And, a pick six, that's not something Rodgers normally does, against the Bucs. So it just feels like there's been a lot of, shooting themselves in the foot. And, it's weird because I'm normally a pretty like a realist when it comes to the Packers. And this season I've been really, really optimistic, which is a little nerve-wracking because I'm like, oh my God, this is like setting myself up for heartbreak, but I don't feel like it's going to lead there. It's just, it's a really good feeling. It's been a while since I felt this good about a Packers team.
Zach, let me get to that point a little bit. What are your thoughts on people maybe bracing themselves for heartbreak and trying not to believe in this team, living in fear of success? Do you think that robs people of the joy that they could feel when this team wins?
Well, I think even outside of football, you naturally live in fear. You don't enjoy the moment. You don't enjoy life. And I don't mean to get like philosophical with it or anything like that, but
it's okay. I asked you to.
Thanks. But it's true. And that, specifically pertaining to the Packers, if you don't enjoy what's happening in front of you, even if they do, I mean, I'm not going to speak it into existence, but it's a potential reality that we face. Even if they do fall to the Buccaneers, it was still one hell of a ride this season. They still accomplished so many great things record-wise as a team. They have this incredible foundation in place. I don't know what they're going to blow up this offseason, with some of the contracts they have right now that are expiring and, what their cap situation is. But that's so far ahead right now. And you just have to enjoy what's happening. I mean, this team went back-to-back years. Matt LaFleur, he's doing ridiculous things as a head coach, things that very few coaches throughout the league's history have done. You can't live in fear. You can't live with your tail tucked between your legs and, think of what could possibly happen. Just enjoy the ride. That's really my best recommendation for anybody, for the pessimists, the optimists, everybody, no matter what side of the spectrum you're on.
Yeah, that's kind of my thought, ride the wave a little bit. And I understand, wanting to be quote unquote realistic, not seen as a homer, whatever. But the other thought that I kind of have is what's the point of being a fan if you're not going to believe? And if there's anything this team has given you this season is a reason to believe in them. And they are, Zach, like you mentioned, they're special. You mentioned they've gone back-to-back 13-3s. Last year was special, but it was for different reasons. They found ways to win, probably won more games than they should have. All that kind of got to a championship game that they, frankly, if I went back in time, I picked the Packers to win. If I went back in time, I would have never done that. But I did because I believed in what they were doing. And this year, this team's given you every opportunity. They've been dominant from basically wire to wire. They've never had a moment where it was like, oh my God, they're just like eking these things out. If you want to look at a couple games, I guess you could say the Jacksonville game wasn't that pretty. Obviously the Minnesota game was a disaster, but that stuff's just going to happen. And every team has games like that. The Kansas City Chiefs lost to the Las Vegas Raiders, for example, and that's a team that they beat 9 times out of 10. And the Chiefs are a legitimate juggernaut. I mean, if you look at that team, they're 15-1 this season. If they play they're 14. I'll say this, they're 14-1 in games they play their starters. And they were able to close out a playoff game with Chad Henne playing quarterback on Sunday afternoon. So, but even still, every team has games like that. The Buffalo Bills, who are playing for a chance to go to the Super Bowl on Sunday, have a terrible loss to the Arizona Cardinals. They lost on a Hail Mary. Granted, a great individual play by Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins, but every team has games like that. And I think something we don't notice as a fan base is a lot of us don't watch a lot of other teams play very closely. So we forget when those teams have games like that. And we remember, oh my God, what happens if they have another game like they did against Indianapolis? And we're not willing to dismiss those games as outliers, which if there's anything that I think you can take from this team, A game where they turn the ball over 4 times is an outlier. A game where Rodgers throws interceptions on 2 of his, next 3 passes or something like that is an outlier. And that's why I have as much confidence as I do in this game on Sunday. But we will get to that here as we go through everything. Zach, you look like you want to say something.
Well, I was just going to kind of piggyback off your point. You can argue that if you don't have games like that, you could argue that the Packers wouldn't be where they are right now, because it's those clunkers, like it's those games against the Buccaneers. It's that really shitty game against the Vikings where the win was a huge factor. That throws you off. The game against the Jaguars that you mentioned where they won, sure, but those are teams, obviously, they show up to play, they get paid too, but those are teams that you should probably blow out of the water if you're going to be a great football team, which we've come to see right now that the Packers are a great football team. If those games don't happen, you have nothing to learn from. You can't, you got to learn from those losses, and you could argue the Packers, they have. That's why they are in this position right now, 4 quarters from a Super Bowl.
Yeah, and there's something to be said about being battle tested. If you go all the way back to the 2011 season, I think is a really good example. They lost 1 game to Kansas City, and they had 1 game that was close against the New York Giants. And then when they hit a little bit of adversity against the Giants in the playoffs, they just simply couldn't recover from that. And they had some really fatal flaws that showed up. Now, I'm not saying Green Bay is going to win this game going away. They may very well lose. Tampa Bay is a very good team. But I don't think this team has the warts that it had in 2019 and 2016, where they were just severely outmatched. And it's not like the team in 2014 where they're going to a house of horrors. And it's not like the team in 2010, even when they won a championship, to where we kind of just rode, Aaron Rodgers even said this, where they just kind of rode the wave and didn't realize how good they were just yet. This team knows how good they are, and they know the opportunity that's in front of them, and they know everything that they have that they're playing for on Sunday afternoon. So let's get into it, guys. It's at Lambeau Field. It's Sunday afternoon, mid-20s, and a chance of snow, about an inch and a half of snow is expected during the game, which is going to make for just a fantastic scene. I am already excited about this. It really does. It has a chance to be just a special moment in Packers history, considering the opponent. And one of the questions I wanted to ask you guys, and I posed this question on my Twitter account last night, considering the magnitude of the game, the location of the game, and the opponent, what game is going to be, if Green Bay wins, obviously that's a huge caveat, what game is going to prove to me more important in terms of the history of the Green Bay Packers? 2011 against the Chicago Bears at Soldier Field, or 2021 against Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Zach, I'll start with you.
This is really close because, in that 2010 season, you had Aaron Rodgers needing to just get that first ring and establish himself, kind of really, I don't want to say move him out of the shadow of Brett Favre, because Brett also finished his career with 1 ring, but just kind of cement himself in team history. Just get over that hump for the first time. But right now, you look at him, he's 37. The past decade, they've had so many playoff heartbreakers, so many close calls. He's not getting any younger, like I just said, his age. And it's against Tom Brady. Like that's the biggest kicker here. You have a chance to knock Tom Brady out of the playoffs. The guy who, for the past decade plus, Packer fans.
2 decades.
Oh, well, I'm talking about Aaron Rodgers' career.
Oh, sure.
Come on, you got to let me finish. For the past decade plus, you have to. I gave you a perfect layup right there, and you didn't even take advantage of it.
I'm not even going to hit the button because you chastised me last week and scolded me. So I am trying to learn and repent from my ways. Jesus is the way.
Bullshit.
Yeah, we're both calling bullshit on that. Get out of here. Packer fans have wanted that Packers-Patriots matchup in the Super Bowl. This is as close. My mic just go out? Oh, never mind. Sorry, I'm having issues here. We have wanted that Packers-Patriots matchup in the Super Bowl for the past decade plus. We haven't gotten it. This is as close as we're going to get. And I just think it matters more for his legacy. He's going to separate himself from the guys like Trent Dilfer, and Nick Foles, the legendary quarterbacks that have won Super Bowl ring. It's just, getting him that second ring is just, I think it's an astronomical feat for his legacy overall, which no matter what, if he somehow ends his career with one Super Bowl ring, I think no matter what, he's the most talented quarterback ever. But you know people and how much they value Super Bowl rings. You guys both know that. So if he could just get that second ring, we'll play the field from there. Who knows? Maybe he'll end his career with a third. Who knows what could happen? But this is huge. And also in his first NFC Championship game at home, I mean, this is the first time in his career that he's had that opportunity. You can't squander it.
Erin, what do you think? Zach's picking the Bucs.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Well, Zach's picking the Bucs game, I should say.
Oh, it's more special. Yeah. I mean, I think I agree. Obviously, this is assuming that the Packers win on Sunday, that what is more special. And there is like part of me, I mean, as a Chicagoan, it's hard to not pick the win over the Bears because that was pretty special from a Chicago cheesehead standpoint. But I just think that, basically agreeing with everything that Zach said about, it being the second ring and getting to a different tier in the minds of a lot of people. And separating himself from, a lot of, just pushing ahead, I guess, in people's minds, even though, as Zach said, like, I think he's like the most talented quarterback we've ever seen. But yeah, I mean, I think it's just a little more special, and it being at home is a lot more special. And it just feeling like there's something special with this team. Because I didn't feel that way, in 2010, because there were a lot of injuries and you just weren't feeling, he gets the concussion late. Like it just didn't feel like it was fate that we had to be Super Bowl champions. And that's how I felt most of the year, that I'm like, this feels like the year. And I didn't feel that way in 2010. So it just feels like this is a lot more special because I think I've appreciated it more because it's felt more realistic this year than it did at that point, with everybody. Yeah. I think just with all the injuries and everything, it was like, oh, this is definitely not our year. And then all of a sudden it just kind of happened when everything fell together kind of towards the end of the year. And this year it's felt complete from start to finish.
You guys are nuts. This game will be special if Green Bay wins. I will certainly turn into a meatball and hold it over every single Tom Brady mouth breather cultist that has been in my mentions since October. And honestly, before that, if the Packers do happen to win this game. That being said, we're talking about individual legacy if we're talking about Aaron Rodgers. And obviously the team success will play into this as well. But this game, really, the storyline is going to be Aaron Rodgers beats Tom Brady in an NFC Championship game. Even if Green Bay wins 3-0 and their defense just has this phenomenal game, they're going to talk about the quarterbacks. That's just how it is. That's how we look at things. Let's go back in time to 2010 and remember the season before that, where Minnesota is in the NFC Championship game with Brett Favre. And then in that season, the following year, they pull him out of retirement to come back and knock the Packers down further. They called themselves the Kings of the North. The division was theirs now. Everything was theirs. Green Bay. Then you go through everything of that season where nobody's underdogs. They don't win their division. They lose out on it to the Chicago Bears because of a stupid game in Chicago where they have 27 penalties or something ridiculous like that. You go through everything from that season, and then the matchup in the championship game is at Soldier Field against your biggest rival in the history, maybe the biggest rivalry in the history of the National Football League. Now, I know I've been outspoken very recently in saying that the Packers and the Bears is not a rivalry until further notice. That said, at the time, it certainly was. And that game was for the ultimate bragging rights, because anything that the Bears say and their fans say from then on, we've got the ultimate one, because the one that put the Packers in, that put either team into the Super Bowl. We had a matchup where it was our guys versus your guys at your shitbox stadium to go to the Super Bowl, and our guys won. And you add in, Zach made the point of Green Bay establishing themselves, Aaron Rodgers establishing himself as a Super Bowl champion. I'll say this, Green Bay could win the Super Bowl this year, and I'll love it As they say in Varsity Blues, Billy Bob cries because he's a bit of a crier. I'll cry if they win the Super Bowl because I'm a bit of a crier, but it won't be like it was in 2010. And just the sheer elation of knowing no matter what happens from then on out, I will have been able to see my favorite team raise the Lombardi trophy above their head. And they couldn't have done that without beating the Chicago Bears. One of the most iconic plays in the history of the franchise comes from that game with BJ Raji getting a pick six and shaking his ass in the Soldier Field end zone and knocking out the Chicago Bears. With all due respect to Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the old NFC Central rival, Tom Brady against Aaron Rodgers is more of a media creation. It's not a rivalry. Those two guys are friends. They like each other. They want to beat each other when they're on the field, obviously, but it's not a thing. The Packers and the Bears, Aaron Rodgers takes a dig at them every chance he gets. The Bears hate him. Their fans hate him. And can you imagine the shit we would still be taking, even despite the dominance over the last decade, 2 decades, if Chicago had won that game? It's the Chicago game to me. And there's going to have to be a lot that happens. Like the Packers are going to have to overcome like a 28-3 deficit, which I certainly hope is never the case, because that's going to be a dark, dark level of depression if they're down 28-3 at any point during this game. It's a Chicago game to me, and it's not particularly close.
Oh, go, Erin.
Well, I was just going to say the difference is also that wasn't like I don't think of that as a really great performance by Green Bay. When I think of the playoffs of that year, I think of the Atlanta game, a complete ass kicking. I don't think of that Bears game as an ass kicking, which is part of the reason, like, I don't think, Rodgers did not look very good in that game, and I think that partially plays into it. And it's hard to say that because we haven't seen this game. He could play like crap this game, but to me, like, yeah, who knows? But thinking about it, when I think of the 2010 playoffs, the game that encompasses that team to me is the Falcons game. Just a complete underdog going into another team's place and kicking their asses.
Well, as they said before the game, Erin, how I believe it was, this may not be their home, but they let the wrong dogs in this fucking house.
Right.
I also do want to say too, the circumstances are a little different too. That was 2010. Rodgers was in his 3rd season as a starter. He was this young, ascending, otherworldly quarterback. The future was bright. Right now, he's 37. We don't know what the future is going to bring. He has a backup on the roster. Right now, we don't know if he's ever going to get back to this point again. Again, we have no idea. Right now, it kind of feels like all or nothing at this point. This could be like a make or break game against the Buccaneers. Again, we have no idea. So, to be fair, and like you said, there were that BJ Raji pick six. That was one of the most iconic moments in franchise history. It's a little unfair right now to ask since the game hasn't been played yet. So we don't know what kind of iconic moments could be provided on Sunday. We have no idea. But yeah, no, like I said, the circumstances were a little different.
I agree. It feels, and like I said, this feels like a buildup all season. Like at points in the 2010 season, it felt like there was no way this team was going to be able to overcome everything. And then they did. But this has been a hope since we watched them kick the Vikings' asses week 1. And it's been like, oh, this team is like on something. And I didn't feel that way throughout the beginning of the 2010 season. So I'll throw that out there, that this has been a huge buildup all season.
I would argue it's been building up for years.
Fair.
Because my mic keeps like cutting out. It's like really weird, but ignore me. Like you guys mentioned earlier, like the confidence in this team right now, I have personally, I haven't felt this in 2019. I didn't feel like this in 2016 going into Atlanta. 2014, like Jacob said, that house of horrors going back into Seattle like they did in the regular season opener that year. It has been years since people have felt this confident about a Packers team, and they've given them all tons of reasons to be confident. So you could say this has been building up for years now.
And that's certainly fair. So we'll bookmark this conversation, and you guys can ask me next week after they win if I feel like this was better than. I will say this.
Well, I think it'll depend on if we win the Super Bowl too. That also makes a huge difference.
No, I will say this. I was not in Chicago when they won the NFC Championship game. I will be at Lambeau if they win this NFC Championship game. And I've already got it pre-marked, happiest days of my life, 9/18, 19, 10, 14, 18, 124, 2021. February 6, 2011 goes above that, but knock that down one more peg. Dead serious. Happiest days of my life if Green Bay wins is going to be birth of my daughter, married my wife, Packers win the Super Bowl, Packers win NFC Championship game at home, and I'm in attendance. And they could win that game against Jacksonville. I really don't care. Those kinds of things. But the more important question I have for you guys, this game's against Tampa Bay, and Tampa Bay is the home of Disney World. So I must ask, Erin, why is a Goofy movie your favorite Disney movie?
You knew that I was going to pick it. Oh, because that's your answer? Yes, it's the best. It's the best. Was that going to be yours?
No,
but it's the best Disney movie ever. It is so good. It's got everything. It's got the parent drama. It's got the romance. It's got the best Disney soundtrack. I will forever, till the day I die, say that it is a travesty that Disney never gave us a full Powerline album. Those two songs that they gave us were banging. So Goofy movie is the best. It is the best.
I will say this. I was going to pick a Goofy movie, and I put my daughter to sleep to that movie sometimes, and it's basically solely so I can listen to Max sing that song. But that being said, it's not the one I'm going to pick for purposes of having some differentiation in this case. But it's a banger, and it's one of the few movies that I can download the soundtrack to and feel great about it. Goofy's hilarious. I always liked him when I was a kid anyways, before the movie existed. So you have that going into it. I'm going to pick The Lion King, even though it was the most depressing movie when you're a kid too. Every kid cried when Simba was pushing Mufasa and said, Dad, you got to get up. Right. Well, that being said, just the growth that he has throughout the movie, I feel like everybody's kind of been through that. He goes from your destiny was this to he doesn't want to be the king anymore. He runs away from everything. I will say Disney did their best to ruin that movie with the crappy live action movie that they made, but whatever.
I avoided it intentionally.
I'll just tell people don't. But the characters, the movie's still really quotable. Timon and Pumbaa are phenomenal. I still know all the words to Hakuna Matata. Simba is just his individual growth as a lion is one of my favorite things throughout that movie. Scar is a great villain for those movies. The Be Prepared song is really good, obviously, which is one of the reasons I don't like it. They shortened that song in the live action movie because of Beyonce, or I don't know if I'm just blaming her because of that, but I thought I read that somewhere. Nonetheless, it is my favorite Disney movie, and it's very rewatchable, and I enjoy it. So Zach, you were going to pick The Fox and the Hound.
I will say I wanted to add Be Prepared is one of the best Disney movie or Disney songs out there. That is a really good one. And I wanted to give out a shout out to our friend, the llama, for buying me a Powerline t-shirt. I would have worn it tonight if I knew that we were going to be doing this topic.
And I will give him a shout out because that movie is a close second or third on this list. So it definitely makes the final four, if you will. Zach?
Well, you pretty much answered for me like a dick, but well, when I said Fox and the Hound at the beginning of the show and you both roasted me for it, I came up with
because it's awful.
It's not so awful. I love Fox and the Hound for nostalgic purposes. And
I'm not even going to take Zach.
And when she abandoned him in the forest, I cried as a kid.
So you like movies with bad mothers?
No.
Do you have mommy issues?
No, but it's a good movie.
There's a lot of Disney movies with mommy issues.
Well, let me say this.
Half of them don't have mothers. I would say more than half. Bambi.
Bambi's mom fucking died.
I'll say this. I can quote just about every old Disney movie and remember things. I can only remember one quote from the movie Fox and the Hound, and that's where he says, "I'm a fox," and the dog says, "I'm a hound dog," and that's it.
I watched it one time, and I won't watch it again. My
alternative option was going to be The Lion King, though.
Okay. So. Yeah, I kind of thought that when he said that, because I know you and I have talked about Be Prepared before, because it's such a great movie.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or a song.
And then the one in Lion King too that she sings when it's COVID, it's a baby, and she it's the war song that his mom sings. I can't remember the name of it.
I never saw the second one.
Are you serious? Neither of you guys saw the second one? Wow.
That was one of those straight to VHS movies.
I think it was
Pride or whatever. Yeah.
Although I will say that one of my favorite Disney movies is the third Aladdin movie. It's actually got some really funny jokes in it. Yeah, it's like
the King of Thieves. Is that it?
Yes. Yeah. Because Robin Williams was not in the second one, but he was in the third one. I don't know why he wasn't in the second one, but he was in the third one, and he's really funny in the third one. Like, that's the only real good part about it.
I didn't even know they made 2 Aladdin movies, let alone 3.
The Return of Jafar, man.
Yeah, it was really bad.
Damn.
Yeah, it wasn't great. It's easily the worst. It's weird because like you expect the sequel to be bad, so it was, and then you're like, okay, that makes sense. And then the third one was better.
Yeah.
Which is like, so it's like the Packers' obsession with the movie. Well, Nathaniel Hackett's obsession with the movie Goldmember, which I have grown to like basically because of them. So they're very influential in my life, as you can tell. But like when it comes to the Austin Powers series, Goldmember is easily the worst of those 3 movies. And probably because like, it's kind of like The Hangover, right? Like The Hangover, they make the same jokes in all 3 movies. They just change the subject line of them. They do the same thing in Austin. Yeah. And the same thing in Austin Powers. They make the same jokes. It's just different people or different like variations of the joke. So it's not as funny. But that is our heavy hitter segment, guys. Be sure to let us know if there's something you want to suggest for us. I think Super Bowl week could be a lot of fun for that, but we thought that would be interesting for you guys. Let's look at this Bucs game, though. I don't know if you guys have heard the storyline. It's Aaron Rodgers against Tom Brady. Those are the 2 quarterbacks that are playing in this game. 2 of the top 5 quarterbacks in the history of the NFL. And it's the first time they faced off in the postseason. What I want to talk to you guys about right now, Erin, what do you think the X factor is for this Packers team to get past Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and into the Super Bowl?
I think it's going to be probably the offensive line. Obviously that was the biggest issue that the Packers had, was that their defensive front was just too powerful, and we couldn't get the run game started. And I mean, I don't know why we kept running wide when, running up the middle was successful, but they're getting Via back. I don't even know how to say it, but I don't know how effective it'll be because he hasn't played in months. But I think the most important part is going to be that offensive line and, getting that run game going. I think that they do that, they can just open the game wide open. It opens up the play action. And yeah, I just think they'll cruise if they can get that going.
Here's the part where you guys light my mentions on fire. So as they say from The Rock, just bring it. I'm ready. My answer is Aaron Rodgers. And I know this game is going to be billed as the quarterbacks, and, the quarterback who wins is going to get all the credit. The quarterback who loses is going to get all the blame. That's just kind of how this works. And that's the nature of it. I've said several times this season, the next NFC Championship game that Aaron Rodgers plays well in will be the first. And that's true. No matter what way you want to slice it, it's true. Last year, he hasn't been the reason that they have lost games, but he has been a reason that they have lost games. In 2016, obviously, they were outgunned. When Ladarius Gunter is covering Julio Jones and a Kyle Shanahan offense that's running at its all-time high, yeah, you're going to struggle a little bit. That said, the Packers didn't score in that game until it was 27-0 or 34-0, one of those 2. That's unacceptable. And that's something that Rodgers can control, is whether or not they are putting points on the scoreboard. Last year, they didn't score until it was 27-0. And he had 2 egregiously terrible turnovers, fumbled a snap and threw an awful interception basically in his own end zone that essentially gifted the 49ers a free touchdown. And realistically, if Aaron Rodgers' name was Kirk Cousins, we would have said his numbers only look good because he put them up in garbage time. But because his name is Aaron Rodgers and we love him and he's one of the best ever, we made him out to be a martyr. And I understand that. 2014, obviously, is a comedy of errors. And Aaron Rodgers is far from the biggest reason they lost that game. That said, did not play well. Threw 1 interception that should not have counted, but the other interception he threw was egregiously bad. And the red zone offense was not good. Some of that lays at his feet. I know everybody wants to blame Brandon Bostic and Morgan Burnett and Mike McCarthy and everything about that stupid fake field goal they ran. Rodgers didn't play well. You go to the NFC Championship game against the Bears. Rodgers doesn't play well. The team is fortunate enough to overcome that and win. And that's a big deal, obviously, that they were able to win that game. And Rodgers wins the MVP of the Super Bowl. So all is forgiven on that front. He can't play that way this weekend. This Tampa Bay offense is going to score points. If the Packers defense plays their best game, Tampa Bay still scores 24 points or something like that at a minimum. And that's just the way that the NFL is in 2021. Rodgers has to be in MVP form from start to finish against a very opportunistic and a good turnover forcing Tampa Bay defense. He has to play in MVP form, scorched earth. Maybe not the Atlanta game from 2011 we referenced earlier, but just the level he's played all season long. And that's what he has to be. If he is what he was last year against the 49ers, they'll lose by 10 points because that's just how this game is going to work. Rodgers cannot play like that. He, to me, is the biggest reason the Packers win or lose on Sunday. And he said himself, he puts pressure on himself to succeed all the time, and he expects to play well, and so do we. And I think you have every reason to think he will play well. That said, if he doesn't, it's going to be a problem. And I'm not telling you guys anything you don't know, but this game has historically been a problem for him, and he's playing against a quarterback who, say what you will, but when the money's on the table, typically, not all the time, but typically Tom Brady is at his best. And I have a feeling he'll be at his best again on Sunday afternoon. Zach, what are your thoughts?
I mean, you're both right. And Aaron Rodgers he needs to be at maybe not an elite level, but he needs to be good. He needs to be at the same standard level he's been all season long. And to get him at that level, to get him the ball, you got to be able to slow down the Buccaneers running game, which the last couple of weeks, they've hit their stride since the start of the playoffs. I mean, going into that New Orleans game last week in the divisional round, they were averaging 89 rushing yards per game. But in the playoffs, last couple of weeks, I mean, I think it was like 127 and then 142 team rushing yards between Leonard Fournette and then Ronald Jones made his return against the Saints. So they have a two-headed backfield right there right now that, could give the Packers some issues. And the Packers, obviously, they have some demons to exercise from last year's NFC Championship game. So them answering that call to action right there, I mean, that's going to be big. And then you slow down their rushing game. You force Tom Brady to kind of be a little one-dimensional with some of he does have some weapons out there though. So that's also dangerous in itself, but you force him to kind of just, like I said, be a little one-dimensional. And it's what the Packers did against the Rams last week. They weren't able to slow down Cam Akers. His 67 of his 90 rushing yards came in the first half, but the Packers, they capitalized on their possessions. They went field goal, touchdown, field goal. They ran 40 plays to the Rams 23 in the first half. So if you could just kind of tighten up your defense, make the stops where you're able to, and against the Buccaneers, it's going to be in the run game. That's likely what they're going to lean on in this type of weather, in this type of climate. And Fournette against the Saints, I mean, he was a receiving option as well. That's the thing with these guys. They're going to be factors in the receiving game. I think he had 5 catches against the Saints. It's a dangerous backfield, and the Packers, they need to be able to combat that and get the ball back in Aaron Rodgers' hands so they could take advantage of those possessions like they were able to do against the Rams. I don't want to say it's been their philosophy, but it's been what they've been doing for the last few weeks, where their offense has been their best defense. They've capitalized on their possessions, they've built leads, and they've forced teams to kind of implode within themselves and become one-dimensional teams and stray away from what they do best. It's what they did against the Titans. They, kind of eliminated Derrick Henry, and Ryan Tannehill couldn't use play action. He was forced to be more of a drop-back passer. Yeah, you just gotta slow down the running game. I think it starts there for the defense specifically. That's going to be my biggest X factor.
And I think that's a good one as well. And you mentioned Ronald Jones, who last week, it looked like two completely different players when he had the ball versus Fournette. And I think Fournette is somebody the Packers actually match up really well with as a runner, because that pounding running back is somebody I think they do well against. But that slasher like Ronald Jones is somebody that could potentially give them some fit. So I think slowing him down is going to be a big deal as Green Bay gets into Sunday's game as well. Guys, we're doing a special edition this week. We have to marry one, we have to have relations with one, and we have to murder one. And I am going with adversaries of one, Tom Brady. So we were looking back through and we realized Tom Brady has lost in 3 Super Bowls that he's played in. But we realized that 2 of them were to the same quarterback. So we did have to cheat a little bit, and we added one. So I am going with the 2 guys he lost with in the Super Bowl, and I am adding his biggest adversary throughout his career. So marry, fuck, kill Peyton Manning, Eli Manning, and Nick Foles. So Zach, I will let you lead off.
Oh, come on, man.
This is tough.
I think I would marry Peyton Manning. For no other reason other than I think he's one of, if not the greatest quarterback ever. And people kind of gloss over that. They look at the greatest quarterback ever and they automatically assume I'm talking about Tom Brady. But I think it's, you got to give Peyton Manning his due. So I would marry him. I would man. Really, you're gonna make me choose to have relations between Nick Foles and Eli Manning? You're making me do that here live on this show right now?
Well, I mean, you agreed to the segment, so I suppose you also it's consensual.
This podcast was your idea.
No, recruiting you two was my idea.
Well, either
The
way.
podcast was my idea, but yeah, putting it with the 2 of us was your idea.
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna I'm gonna bow Nick Foles, and then I'm gonna kill Eli Manning because of those 2 playoff games against the Packers. Fuck you, Eli Manning.
I agree. I am going to marry Peyton Manning because I think, like you mentioned, Zach, I think you talk about like greatness and the greatest ever and everything. Peyton Manning to me is the best as far as the mastery of the quarterback position, the best ever. Yeah. Changed the way the position was played, the doing of everything at the line of scrimmage, all that stuff. I think if Peyton Manning was paired with Bill Belichick instead of the fraud that is Tony Dungy and Jim Caldwell, he would have a fistful, on each hand of championship rings. I think Peyton Manning is one of, if not the best quarterback that has ever played. And I think he absolutely is better than Tom Brady. So I will marry him. And I think that he was a great ambassador for the NFL, obviously, during his time in the league, one of the most marketable players, and he stopped the Bears from winning a Super Bowl, which, thank you God, the Bears have never won a championship in my lifetime. Peyton Manning certainly earns extra points for that. I will have relations with Nick Foles because Nick Foles is the perfect one-night stand, isn't he? Nick Foles' entire career is a one-night stand, if you think about it.
That's good. Yeah.
He has one season where he threw 27 touchdowns and 2 picks with Chip Kelly. He has the magic carpet ride in Philadelphia where he wins the Super Bowl, and a pseudo playoff run where he was pretty good for that Eagles team the following season, where the Bears obviously double doink him to the second round and they get a chance against the Saints to win and they don't. But everything kind of happens that way. I think he's the perfect version for that. And Eli Manning fucking sucks. Like, Eli Manning's going to get into the Hall of Fame, and he absolutely shouldn't. Because the first argument everybody makes for Eli Manning, like, if you look back, Phillip Rivers just retired today. Of that quarterback class, Ben, Eli, and Phillip Rivers, one of these things is not like the other. I think only one of those quarterbacks is a Hall of Famer, and it's Ben Roethlisberger. Phillip Rivers is in the Hall of Very Good, and Eli Manning is a guy who kind of fell ass backwards into 2 Super Bowls. And thank you, because he stopped the Patriots from going, or him and his team, I should say, stopped the Patriots from going undefeated. And thank you for that. And they stopped the Patriots from winning another Super Bowl in 2011. So thank you for that. But otherwise, the only contribution that Eli Manning, there's 2 of them. One, the Eli Manning face, which is like that scrunched, weird, like, oh my God, like I look like a super stoner look. And the Rodney Ruxin joke from the league where Ruxin is roster baiting and he calls him a goddamn mouth breathing dummy, which is like the perfect description of him. But otherwise, Eli, I mean, I'm still so frustrated that Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers, and I know QB wins and QB losses isn't a thing, but they've lost playoff games to this freaking guy. Like, he sucks. And it was infinitely more annoying in 2016 when he came to Green Bay and everybody was like, oh, Eli, all he does is come to Lambeau and win playoff games. And I'm like, we're going to kick their fucking ass. Like, they can't stop us. And Eli's not going to be able to throw the ball in that Lambeau cold anymore like he used to be able to. Eli Manning sucks. Death to him. Erin.
He couldn't even throw the ball at Lambeau in October earlier that year.
Correct. Yes. Thank you. Erin, please.
Sorry, Erin.
Anyways, I'm gonna agree on marrying Peyton Manning. I just think he's underrated, you know. I don't know. I would not want to pick him for the one night stand because I don't know, sex with Peyton Manning. Just I feel like he probably makes like some Forrest Gump noises or some shit. Like you know the scene where his mom has sex with the principal and he's like making all those grunting noises. That's what I feel like he sounds like in bed.
Which grunting noises?
Don't. Don't. Please don't.
Those.
Oh God.
Now who's
perfect.
disappointed, Jacob?
That was
Zachary.
A+. And I'm gonna fuck Eli Manning. Let's keep it in the family.
What?
Is marrying Peyton.
Right, but I mean,
there's no incest happening.
No, but I mean, when you say it like that, go on.
Anyway, let me fucking finish. I let you go off.
Wait,
freezing.
I said go off, not get off.
I mean, there's not much of like a line there.
There is a difference.
You gave me a chance. I took it.
Oh.
Anyways,
I'm sorry, Mom.
Like I said, you're not sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. I'm not going to apologize.
So, yeah, because he beat Tom Brady, and I am appreciative of that. And I am going to kill Nick Foles because I refuse to have relations with a Chicago Bear. Fuck that. I'm done. None of that. Absolutely not.
I will say this, since we got through that segment, I give both of you so much credit for not bringing up the nickname that typically follows.
Okay.
It's
not. You guys are both agreed to fuck him. I figured.
I tried to ignore it, but nonetheless,
no, that doesn't matter. Still a Bear is not going to enter me. None.
Well, respect. All right, moving on, guys. We're running out of time here, so we're at the end of everything. It's Packers, it's Bucs, it's 2-0. That's what every single listener, so all three of them just said. Thank you guys for listening as long as you have. It's Packers, it's Bucs, it's 205. It's a Joe Buck, Troy Aikman, and Erin Andrews special. And Joe Buck is the best in the business. Go argue with a wall. Who are you guys picking? And who is the player that swings the game in the team you're picking's favor? And then just at the end, who are they facing in the Super Bowl? Erin, I'll let you go first.
I am going to stick with what I said earlier. I think I said Packers 34, Bucs 23. I just think that what does that look?
No, nothing. I perked up. I was surprised. That's all.
Oh,
jeez. Continue.
No, you just gave me a look. And yeah, I think that the offense is going to continue to roll, especially in this weather. Bruce Arians is talking all this shit that the weather's not going to bother them, and I don't believe any of that.
I hate that guy. Go on.
Me too. Yeah, he's awful. I do not believe it. And even if the one person that I feel like might be okay with the weather would be Gronk, because I read earlier in the year that he was having a hard time adjusting to Tampa weather. So maybe, it'll, feel like old times. I think Brady, it probably won't affect him, but him and Gronk, but everybody else, they have not played in cold weather at all this season. All of December, all of their games were either in domes or down south. Like there's no way that any of these guys are ready to play in this weather. So I think it's going to be, I think it'll be close, but then in the fourth quarter, the Packers go up by 11. So, and I think they're going to face the Bills in the Super Bowl. I'm going the Bills. Let's do it. the Chiefs have, I don't know. I'm not completely sold on them. And maybe it's just my heart wanting the Bills to, be the underdog. I love the underdog, but yeah, we'll go Bills.
And then the player who swings the game.
Oh, the player that swings the game. I am going with Darnell Savage, a pick 6 on Tom Brady. Book it.
Zach, who you picking?
Jacob, please stop doing that. I'm begging. I have the Packers winning 31-24. And kind of it ties into what Erin said earlier about the running game. I mean, going back to that first meeting on October 18th, Aaron Jones had 15 yards on 10 carries. And Jacob, like you alluded to on Twitter a few days ago, the Packers, they kept trying to run outside the tackles. They kept trying to press to the sideline. If you try to do that against these linebackers, Levante David, Devin White, they will chase your ass down. They will tackle you at or behind the line of scrimmage. It's not going to work. They're fast. They're instinctive. They will haul ass and they will take care of you. So it's not going to work. You run straight into the second level. You give your interior guards and your center a chance to get to the second level and put a block on those guys and pave the way for you. Then you'll have a better opportunity. But Villave will also be there. Well, as far as we know, he hasn't he hasn't actually joined the active roster. He's been designated to return, but he missed that first matchup. He suffered the ankle injury the week before. But if they can just get the running game going in any capacity, then so much of this offense that's predicated on the run game, everything stems from what they're able to do, the success that they're able to have against the run or with the run. That's going to open up so many different things. The defensive backs are going to cheat up. You're going to be able to do different things against the safeties, against the corners. You're going to be able to get different types of motion involved. And I feel like that wasn't something they were able to do in the first meeting, and it was also Devontae Adams' first game back. So him going up against Carlton Davis was a little bit of a matchup that favored Davis. Now Adams is in his stride. That's going to be something to watch. Alan Lazard also wasn't present for that first matchup, and he's going to be a big component to that running game. The guy that I'm watching, I actually think I mentioned him last week as well. It's going to be Robert Tonyan. I don't know if he'll swing the game, but he's going to have a pretty big impact that'll decide, a lot of the success the Packers are able to have on offense. Because if they're able to have any type of success on the ground, they're going to revert to that play action boot. They're going to try and, get these linebackers to kind of like freeze in the middle. And that's Robert Tonyan's calling card. Him just getting these guys, if they're not frozen in the middle, getting them moving sideline to sideline, stretching the field. And that was what they did in the first meeting. When they got up 10 points, those first 21 plays they had on offense, the Packers, they were distributing the ball. I mean, Equinemius St. Brown had a target. They were moving all across the board with their targets. So Robert Tonyan's my guy that's going to swing the game, kind of. And I think they're going to play the Chiefs. I'm not going to bet against Patrick Mahomes. I'm kind of smarter than that. Look, I want the Bills. Okay, I want to see Josh Allen, do some crazy shit, and I want to see Jair Alexander lock up Stephon Diggs. But
oh my god,
again, yeah, I want him to come back to his.
Yeah, I want to see the clamps.
Yeah,
but
I don't know why I'm doing that. This isn't a video show.
Yeah, well, I don't want to describe what you were doing, but Jacob was banging the sides of his hands together to signify clamps, I'm assuming.
And then I also put my hands behind his back
from
Jair does.
Yeah.
The clamp. No, I was thinking never mind.
Okay, whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Packers and Chiefs in the Super Bowl.
The game's at Lambeau Field. The Lambeau Field stigma, the mystique, everything. I have been calling it the opponent's version of hell. And as my good friend John, better known as Jigsaw, might say, is once you are in hell, only the devil can help you out. And the devil doesn't come to Lambeau Field because it's God's house. And that is his vacation home. And I think the Packers win 34-24 with a big play from Kevin King. I think Kevin King is going to see a lot of targets on Sunday. I think he's going to have an opportunity to make some plays, and I think he will. He's due for something like that. He's had plenty of opportunities. He had one slip through his hands 3 weeks ago against Chicago. I think he'll have that opportunity again. And I think he'll make that play this time. I think the Packers are the better team. I think they've been the better team all season. I think that week 6 matchup has no bearing on it. And I look forward to celebrating and partying like it's 1996 all over again as the Green Bay Packers punch their ticket to Super Bowl Sunday in Tampa against the best quarterback in the world, Patrick Mahomes, and the Kansas City Chiefs, because I am not betting against Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City. The Buffalo Bills are like our AFC brothers, and I understand that. I think there's plenty of storylines, but with as shitty as 2020 was, I feel like we almost deserve 2021 starting out with this version of Rodgers and Brady that we never got in the Super Bowl, and having it as Rodgers against Mahomes. It'll be billed as the State Farm Bowl, which I really fucking hate that, because there will be plenty of new stupid Jake from State Farm commercials that ruin my life. But I like the Chiefs in that matchup, especially if Pat can play. If Mahomes can't play, then obviously I'm picking the Bills. I don't think anybody's picking the Chiefs if Mahomes can't play, but he's going to play.
And I want to give a shout out to Bills fans after they beat the Ravens. They donated like $300,000 to like Lamar Jackson's favorite charity. So that's partially why I'm picking them. Like I love them. I'm in it.
Between that and I believe in karma. And I just refuse to believe that Antonio Brown is going to play on Super Bowl Sunday. Like, I just cannot fathom that being a possibility. And couple that with the Packers being a better all-around team, I think. And I think you have a 10-point victory, and we are just waving those Titletown towels, flying all the way to Tampa, singing green and yellow, green and yellow, green and yellow, as the Packers get to the Super Bowl for the first time in 10 years. So we're out of time, guys, for this version. Be sure to check us out, rate, subscribe, review, everything like that. If this was your first time listening to the show, my apologies, but if you liked it, let us know. We very much appreciate the input that we get from our fans and everything like that. We appreciate everybody listening that you have every single week. It's the Packers and the Bucs on Sunday at 2:05 Central Time will be kickoff. And I can't wait. The juices are flowing. You can follow me on Twitter. I am at Jacob Westendorf. You can find most of my work at Game On WI and a little bit over at Packer Report as well, at Packer Report 66. Be sure to check everything out over there as well. Erin, where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter at HEROOINE, heroin. The hero, not the drug. I also run the socials for Game On Wisconsin. So find me on Twitter and Instagram at Game On WI. We also have TikTok, which is really exciting. And Facebook at Game On Wisconsin and YouTube at Game On Wisconsin. And also I have an article dropping every Thursday called Thirsty Thursday. I guess it'll be releasing today when you're listening to this. And it's a Battle of the Bays cocktail. So yeah, look out for it.
And she really is the best in the business. So if you are listening to this and need somebody to be your social media coordinator, let me know, and I will be happy to let you know all.
I'm sure they're gonna approve of it after listening to this show.
Just skip to the end of the show and just know that she has been influenced poorly by us two scoundrels. And scoundrel number 2 here is Zach Jacobson. Zach, where can we find you aside from your OnlyFans account?
Well, yeah, aside from the OnlyFans account, which Jacob is my only subscriber at the moment. I'm looking to change that. You can find me at Packer Report. I am the reporter there, and I do so much more. And I do open book every Wednesday at Game On Wisconsin, 5 Central.
Yeah, rumor has it, and we can't announce it just yet, but rumor has it you guys may have a very big guest coming on your show next week. So once we get that confirmed, we will certainly announce that. But until then, it's the Packers and the Bucs, and hopefully we have a chance to preview a Super Bowl against either Kansas City or Buffalo. Frankly, I don't care. If Green Bay wins, bring on whoever. I'm not real worried about that. But until next time, this is the Illusion of Complexity. Thank you guys for listening. And one final time, go Pack, go.